How you doing, guys? Nice to be back, and hope everyone's enjoying their beginning of spring. Still waiting for the weather to change here in England, but I'm sure it will come soon. So another channel message today. This is about being conscious. Again, it's just getting the fundamentals in place now, because this year is still many unknowns within the chaos, but there's also a lot of frequency shifts happening, and you can feel it, and it's really bringing up people that have been working on themselves, are really starting to feel very deep vibrational frequencies coming into the body for two things. First one's a release, but the second one is the frequencies of consciousness or energy or light codes. And this message is about photonic waves coming into the body. Because if you've started to work on yourself, you're starting to change the cellular DNA energy output. And of course, what that is doing is then it's drawing more light in. And of course, everything works on intention. So the intention needs to be there to create a cellular stabilization, because we cannot change anything until our cellular information is changed. So this is why a lot of people have been talking about cells, the biology of cells, biology of belief in cells. Bruce Lipton goes into it, but there's many other people that go into it. Very good spiritual channels, and even some of the mainstream stuff about the importance of cells, because that structure needs to be in place. Now, the Viridian Consciousness that I channel, obviously there's a lot of stuff in the book that I've written, which is their channel book, and a few other spiritual teachers have come in there as well. But their main thing is they're changing the atom and molecule. So there's a like I said, it's a resequencing that they're doing, because there's an inefficient programming that's sitting in the biofields of human energy field. And it's a signal output. Now, this is to do with parts of the brain, and this is what I'm talking about in the alignment modality, because when we get into the second and third part, we go more into this and the hypothalamus. But this frequency is sort of including the reptilian brain frequency, is keeping people held in a sort of prison or three-dimensional lock. So they're sort of opening up the mind complex and re-energizing the meridians, so the heart chakra can start to open. And what they're doing is they're sending their frequency in photonic waves. So anyone that's starting to open will start to receive this. And they've been very instrumental in this planet over the millions of years. Like I said, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of light beings. There's a lot of extraterrestrials. Yes, there's a lot of experiments. A lot of people speak about the 22 experiments going on around the planet with different consciousnesses. I don't get into all that. I'm aware of it. A lot of it happens. What I'm more concerned with is the sort of higher light beings that are doing more to raise the consciousness of the planet and people, not so much their own sort of self-serving agendas. Doesn't mean those self-serving agendas aren't bad, because everyone's evolving and having their own experience, especially with this planet and human DNA. But in order to re-establish our intention, our human intention, we need to start being grounded in our consciousness, because there's so much energies that have manipulated our DNA, not just through the foundational DNA, but input that's still coming in. So it's really we have to find ourselves to be a clear channel, so we can actually separate a lot from this this lower frequency control mechanism. Now, at the end of the day, the soul will do this. So it's not like you have to go out and like, shit, I've got to do all this stuff now, A, B, C, D, blah, blah, blah. It's not about that. It's about, obviously, and I've talked many times about clearing the emotional body. There's certain things we can do, healing and stuff. But it has to be an intention. And you have to start to change the thought process as well, and the thinking. And again, it's just about putting the intention out there, because if your intention's true, that frequency will find you and it will do the work subconsciously. Okay, so again, people are starting to, you know, we have the three brains or the three minds. They say the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious. So yeah, we have conscious, unconscious, superconscious, and supreme consciousness. Okay, but in the end, if the consciousness of the planet is we're working with a third dimensional mind, which is a conscious mind, which everyone pretty much operates. But this again is programmed through misinformation. Everyone's too scared to go, not everyone, I should say that. Many people are too scared to go into the subconscious because that's where all the hidden, denied, repressed emotional trauma is. And everyone's trying to elevate themselves to some sort of super consciousness. And we're forgetting to be conscious where we are in the body. Again, so we need to be more grounded. We need to have spiritual realization in a physical body. Amin, I've spoken about with Jennifer Starlett. He speaks a lot about that. I think Jennifer wrote that in one of her books. I think it's in Union. It's worth a read. And it's really, again, about flipping everything that the New Age movement has had us believing as well. So the Viridians are very connected in re-establishing a link with human DNA, because human DNA is obviously the bridge into multidimensionality, and it's also the place where we can access our own multidimensional selves, and of course a lot of DNA is trying to come in, and Amin spoke about this as well, and he said basically that a lot of birth defects in children at the moment, and what medical professions see as birth defects is actually multidimensional DNA trying to merge with the physical body in this time space. And of course this physical body is rejecting it because it sees it as foreign DNA. But because we're phasing into fourth density living now, we are sort of more open. So other aspects of our own consciousness, our own DNA is trying to merge with us. Because when we go into 4D, 5D and the rest, not 5D now because we're only going to 4D, but when we're in these higher, or again, higher dimensional consciousness, then of course that communication with multidimensional selves is like talking to your best friend. You know, it's just a normal, it's a given. So we're in the infancy of that, and we're going through that tunnel. There's a lot of things coming on because the consciousness on the planet is very low here with extraterrestrial esoteric knowledge. Again, it's not fed through modern medicine, because modern medicine obviously is a chemical foundation, and the intention is to obviously go the chemical route, so they're not going to give you the esoteric side of it, the information. That's why all the witch doctors and, you know, the tribal medicine is a lot of people doing shamanic work now, just to sort of reintegrate that back into their own consciousness, because it's almost a lost language, and you have to go to sort of southern hemisphere and parts of Africa to really, and parts of Asia, to really see that still working in abundance. Anyway, I don't want to get too much off topic here. Like I said, so the Viridians, they're working, they're basically oscillating their frequency in human genome experiment or our field, and they're also placing a program in the sacral chakra, which is the creative chakra, and it's there to sort of this program basically sends out a frequency to align more of the feminine energy in the body to help it ground. But they're also working very much with the mind and the mental side to try and stabilize the mental energy, because the mental energy on the planet is going crazy at the moment. Has been for generations, but at the moment it's very, very intense, because what's happening is everyone's denied, repressed emotion is coming up to the surface. And of course people don't know how to handle it, because they've been never taught how to deal with their feelings or their emotions. So of course that's causing a lot of mental fatigue and problems, and of course the mental illness is I mean, everywhere's mental illness now, but that is because the denied, repressed emotional body hasn't had an outlet. And some people manifest it into an organ, they get an illness and disease, but people manifest it into their mind, which of course creates mental illnesses. So that's going to be on a rise again this year. So again, just if you start to feel that something's happening to you, you're starting to get a lot of despair, freaking out, sort of a lot of pains in the body, then don't run to the doctor. You've got to look within, because it's your emotional body screaming at you to say, hey, you need to release me. Okay, you need to let me go. You have the power to do it. You don't need to go and suppress it with medication. everything is in alignment on this planet right now for the most perfect transition of healing. If you're sensible and you listen and you take note of what's going on in your body, and you be inquisitive about your body, and start asking the right questions, because too many people go into fear when things happen in themselves, and it's normal, it's human behavior. However, we need to start raising our consciousness above that now. We can't keep freaking out every time something happens. We need to start asking and looking within, because we run to the doctor too many times, and half the time the doctors don't even know what's going on anyway. I've heard that 1,000 times. And if they do, it's just a drug. So we need to get out of that frequency as well, and just start listening, because you have your own answers. The soul body is around you now. It's more around you now than it has been for generations, for thousands of lifetimes, because the frequency of the planet for the last 10,000 years has been very, very low. So it's very hard for it to have a soul connection because of the frequency. So that's all opening now. Like I said, the COVID, again, it's the iceberg analogy. The iceberg underneath, that's where the main body of it is. That's the soul body. That's what's coming up now. That's what we're operating from. Everything's been flipped. So all you have to do is surrender in the morning to it each day, and you'll start to feel it around you, and it's going to guide you. Anyway, this takes me on to my message. So I channeled this yesterday. I never got a chance to read it off yesterday. So I just asked, it just came in meditation to channel something about being conscious. It's a short message, but it's good, and there's some interesting stuff about Mars and Mercury here as well. Okay, so this is from the Viridians from yesterday. So the photonic waves now entering your domain are a realignment of consciousness, but intention must be at the forefront. To be conscious is to let go of what you think you know, because through 3D eyes, you know very little. In fact, what you do know is in actual fact the very thing which is holding you back. So instead of accumulating knowledge, how about surrendering to the knowledge that already exists within you? Acquiring, conquering, and confronting will no longer serve the human agenda. Stopping, listening, and surrendering is the only agenda going forward if you want peace on your planet. Being conscious is emptying your minds of all the clutter and misinformation. That is your job now, because by living in the moment, you see, feel, hear, and resonate with your own personal truth. Being conscious is the ability to be inquisitive, to be open, being responsible for your own beliefs that you project onto others. Change the micro, advance the macro. That is humanity's greatest task, and that is what we term being conscious. Because in truth, in 3D, you are blocked from the truth through illusion. So it's not that you don't know, but rather cannot see at this stage while in a human suit. Mars and Mercury are putting together something special for humanity, and this will be known by July. Let's say it's very electric and driven by intelligence that has been aching to awaken in human DNA. Your drive for perfection will wither when you live in the moment. However, you need to be conscious of the pattern that drove you to believe you aren't already perfect. Understand, oscillation is starting to find balance on your planet. And that's the great thing about chaos. It stimulates progress. And the perpetrators of chaos never realize that it's at their own detriment. So you will be called upon in the future to love these perpetrators, for they are most in need of healing. So be conscious that these beings are a projection of your own shadow, who have yet to step back into their hearts. So just set the intention each day, and these photonic waves will find you, but you must put out the call. Okay, so great message. I don't know what's going to happen with Mars and Mercury. We'll channel that. I didn't want to say much, so we'll see what happens. I had no idea, because when that part came through, I got an image, because normally I'm channeling, I'm just writing, but that image came, and I just saw this electric energy. I was channeling it as well, writing it, but it was a picture, and I can't remember because it was yesterday, but it was there was an excitement, an expansion, and intelligence, and it was very, very electric, very, because electrical energy is spiritual energy, is consciousness. Frequency is conscious, is spiritual energy. Magnetic is the density of what we live in. So we draw in electric into the magnetics. That's how it works. So this there's a sharpness, and I think what it's going to do is it's going to shake things up. So I think after July there's going to be a big shake up in people's DNA. So I don't know how that's going to play out. Anyway, like I said, I saw a picture, but I'll do another channeling on that later, closer to the time. What if it comes through next week? It comes through next week. So whenever it comes through, the information, I'll pass it on. So yeah, so that's quite exciting. So these photonic waves, basically, you don't need to understand what it is. You just need to set the intention, because your soul knows what it needs to do. It knows what you need to clear. So you just set the intention. And just set that in, and maybe just sit for 5-10 minutes in the morning and just say, okay, I receive whatever light my soul needs me to receive, and just breathe, and make sure you do very, very deep breathing and very much longer on the exhale, and that will put you into a very receptive mode, because the more relaxed the body is, it's easier for the consciousness to move into your system. Okay, so just set that and see what happens. Everyone is subjective, everyone have a different experience, and then just see how you go. All right, guys, we'll see you again probably next week. Take care. All the best.